Alright, we're going to put some numbers in order right now. So you can see we've got negative numbers, we've got positive numbers. Well, whatever should we do? I would say start by separating the negative numbers from the positive numbers, right? I mean, that's kind of straightforward. We know that the negative numbers from previous understandings, hopefully, are going to be lower, of course, than positive numbers, right? You'd rather be paid money than have to pay someone money, or earn money rather than have it to give it away. So I think of negative numbers, you're giving away the money, or even think of temperatures. Negative temperatures is it's colder, right? It's like you're putting them in order from coldest to warmest, if you want to think about it like that. So negative 3 1/3 would come first. Horrible 3. Negative 3 1/3. And negative 3 3/4 would come second in that case. Now I don't know for sure yet which is bigger, 3/4, negative 3 3/4, or negative 1 1/3. But I know at least that these two are going to be lower than 3.3 and 3.5. Now I'll start by looking at the two positive numbers to see which one's lower or greater. I think we're more familiar with positive numbers. And as you can tell here, the further the number is to the right on the number line, the greater it is. So 3.3 is located right here. And you can see I've separated them if you want to relate this to money, every nickel, or every 5/100ths if you think about place values, or 0.05. 3.5 is way over here, and that's more to the right. So actually, the way it's written up here, it's already in order. Now, in terms of 1/3 and 3/4, it might help to convert these to decimals, since these numbers here are in decimals. But if you know how to find equivalent fractions, you could actually do it that way too. I'm going to convert them to decimals just because it's a relatively new skill and it's something maybe you need some practice on. Now, even though we know 3 doesn't go into 1, I'm actually going to write 3 up here because this is really negative 3 1/3, so we've got to make sure it's still 3 up there. I could also make this an improper fraction and make 10 my numerator. I'll do that one. I'll do it that way when we solve this out here. 3 goes into 10 3 times, and this pattern is actually going to keep continuing. I'll put the bar over it, but you'll be able to see here 10 minus 9 is 1, and we'd have to bring down a 0, we'd get 10 again. So that 3 is going to keep repeating. So negative 3 1/3 is really negative 3.3 repeating. And then 3 3/4, we said we're going to make this an improper fraction. I'll do that out over here. It would be 15 over 4. So the number that falls in the house is always the numerator. That becomes our dividend. And so 15 goes there. And the 4 is our divisor. It stays on the outside of the vinculum. This right here is called the vinculum. 4 goes into 15 3 times. 4 times 3 is 12. We subtract, we get 3. Bring down a 0 here. And that'll go in 7 times. You might even know from experience that 3/4 is 0.75, but still, good habit to learn the way that the fraction becomes a decimal. And of course, don't forget that this number was negative to begin with. That's a common mistake that you will make. A wolf. So be careful of that. Negative 3.75. And again, on a number line, the number that is furthest to the right is the greatest. So if we look at this number line down here, negative 3.75 is over here, and then the number that's to the right is negative 3.3333333, which actually isn't located here. It's located a little bit closer actually to negative 3.35, because remember, that 3 keeps repeating, so it's actually located right there. Just so we know, this is negative 3.333. That's what we're talking about here. And this number here is just negative 3.3000. And the 0 will keep going on forever and ever. So that's why we're not putting the dot there. But as you can tell, negative 3 1/3 is actually greater than negative 3 3/4. So to really put these in the proper order, we'd have to switch these two numbers around. I'm going to try one more problem. Hopefully this extra problem will reinforce you thinking that you know this stuff. So again, we're going to start with the negatives and the positives. What's positive, what's negative? Again, we're going from least to greatest. So this number here is negative, and this number right here is negative. Those will be our two lowest numbers, and then are positive numbers. I don't know, I'll circle them green here. There's that one and that one. So these two numbers circled in green are going to be greater than the numbers circled in blue. So I think I know already the green numbers. 2 is going to be the third greatest, and then 2.1 repeated will actually be the greatest here. That's like about 11 cents if you're thinking in terms of money. This would be just $2 even. This would be about $2.11. Technically, it's a little more than 11 cents because that 1 keeps repeating. The hard part is now just determining what's bigger, 0.1 or 1/11th. So I'm going to make 1/11th into a fraction. And again, even though 11 doesn't go into 1, I'm just going to write 2 up here. I hope you understand that. If it confuses you, you can always write the 0. But the reason I'm writing the 2 is because up here, we already knew that 2 was a number we had as a mixed number to begin with. Again, I could have made this into an improper fraction. And maybe I should have. That's technically the right way. I'm just doing this. This is like a little shortcut. So 11 goes into 1 0 times, but I wrote 2 up there. 11 goes into 10. It still doesn't go in at all. So we write 0 up here. And 11 is going to go into 100 9 times, right? Because 11 times 9 is 99. And you're going to see that this is actually going to turn into a pattern. 11 is not going to go into 10. We're going to get nothing left over here. We're going to have to see how many times 11 goes into 100. And you can imagine that we're going to keep getting 09, 09, 09. So I could put a bar over this and show that it repeats. Now, what's greater, 2.09 or 2.1? Well, and remember, we're talking about negatives here. So negative 2.10 or negative 2.09 repeating. Well, even though this is going to be repeating, the key thing to look at is the place values here. So if I look at the first place value, the ones place, it's the same number, so those don't matter. But we can see right here there's a difference. The 1 here is bigger than the 0. So really, if we go back to number lines, the number that's furthest to the left is the lower number. And the number here that is furthest to the left happens to be negative 2.10. And negative 2.09, that's not entirely right. It'll actually be, someplace a little between negative 2.09 and negative 2.10, although very, very close to negative 2.09 because the next number after here was a 0. So it's really close to that number right here. And this number is, of course, a little bit bigger because it's further to the right on the number line. So we would say the order here would be so you can see it's negative 2.1 followed by negative 2 and 1/11th, then 2, and then 2 point, and the 1 will be a repeating decimal.